I just bought this 2016 Seat Ibiza FR for just £550 to try and sell it for £3,500 because I'm flipping cars until I can afford to build a diesel M3 Touring. I used the SWOOPA app to find this Seat, which was priced at an absolute steal according to the app, but it did have a few problems. For a start, the battery was completely dead, so I had to use my top-down jump pack to get the engine running. And then I found out it was covered in mould, dripping wet through inside, and it does go into limp mode at 50-60 mile an hour. And now I've got the car back home, I need to sort this battery. So I got my little 3/8 ratchet out to unbolt the 2 battery terminals, and then there's 1 bolt at the bottom of the battery holding it in place. The whole thing comes out, and I whacked it on a trickle charger overnight, and then disconnected it, and after a couple of hours, checked the voltage, and it was reading 12.5 volts, so I think it's all good. But once I got the battery back in the car, the key battery wasn't working. I presume the battery in there is dead. So for a couple of quid I got a new button cell battery and split open the key to replace the old one with a brand new one. And with that working brilliantly now, I started the car and it turned over perfectly. And I just wanted to check the alternator was working, so I got the multimeter out and it was reading 14.8 volts. So the alternator is definitely good. The next thing I'm going to do is take the car for an MOT, because it only goes in limp mode at like 50-60 mile per hour apparently, and I can't drive it with no MOT, so I've got it booked in tomorrow. But first I need to get rid of all of this mould inside the car, because I don't think they'll be very happy with me if the car turns up super mouldy. Mouldy car seat for sale, I'm taking bids in the comments. And there was no way that I was going to try and flip that car seat for profit. So I started hoovering up all of the surface mould, which may seem stupid because it does need to get treated further down, but I'm just doing a temporary surface fix for now, so that when I take it to the garage to get it MOT'd, the mechanics aren't upset and may be inclined to be a bit stricter on the car. So with everything that I can hoover up hoovered up, I got some white vinegar spray and wiped down the rest of the seats to try and get rid of the odour and the rest of that mould on the seats and carpets. So this is looking way better. There's no mould left in there that's visible. Once I've fixed all the issues, I am going to give it a proper wet vac, get rid of all that mould for good and steam clean everything like that so the mould doesn't come back. But there's one last thing to do before I take it to get it MOT'd, and that's make sure there's some oil in it so I'm not going to blow the engine up by driving it around. And I want to leave it running for a little bit with the heaters on. The windscreen was dripping wet, and even now that I've cleared that off, the inside of the car, all the windows are still steamed up, so there's still loads of water in the car. I'm hopefully going to try and dry that out by running the engine, and I use a heat gun and a dehumidifier as well to try and completely dry out the inside of the car. But I think once I'm driving it a bit and the heaters come on, it's probably going to clear up anyway. But now that's all dried off a bit, it's time to see if it can pass an MOT. And after checking all the obvious stuff like bulbs and tyres, I topped up the screen wash and sent it off to get it MOT'd. Meanwhile, let me give you a huge tip about flipping cars, because all the profit is mainly made in buying the right cars, and my past few flips have been the biggest profits I've ever made in over 50 cars, all because I've started using the SWOOPA app. And that's because it notifies me instantly when a new bargain is listed online, as well as ranking how good the deal is compared to similar cars. Now the price ranking is honestly a game changer, because I don't have to waste time going into Facebook trying to figure out how much a certain car could be worth selling for. And if a real bargain is listed, it literally takes minutes before traders have already messaged the seller and are going to pick the car up on the back of a trailer, so you have to be quick. For example, on this Seat, the seller said she had so many messages that by the time I got there she'd already been offered £600, even though the listing was for just £450. So luckily I offered £550, and because I was the first one there, she agreed. But she did say the only reason that she gave it to me was because I was the first to message. The app also has an AI evaluation which reads the description, checks the details of the car, and values the car based on its problems and based on other cars selling at a similar price. So I use a search for cars in a 20-mile radius, newer than 2014 and less than £2,000, and just watch the bargains roll in. So click the link in the description to try out SWOOPA for free for 7 days and make yourself an extra £1,000 this month. So I've just picked the car up from the MOT station. That says pass, which means this car is legal, so I'm going to waste no time and see if I can get this limp mode to come on so that I can read the codes and see why it's doing it. Now it did have some advisories. It got advisories for the front brake pads wearing thin, and it also got an advisory for the brake discs all around the car being corroded. So to help it sell and for it to be safe for the new owner, I'm going to do brakes all around the car, just fix this limp mode, and this should be like maybe a £3,000 car. That's a good profit because I'm only like £750 in. £550 car, driving perfectly, and it's got cruise control. This is a bargain. Oh no, right, we've got a glow plug light and an engine check light has come on, and it's vibrating now. I'm gonna pull over and I'll read the code. And now I know the car's going into limp mode because of this code, and that means the fuel rail pressure is too low. Now I've read online that the high pressure fuel pumps in these engines like to sort of eat themselves, and that makes a load of metal swarf. So I'm gonna take the top off the high pressure fuel pump here and inspect it to see if I can see any of those metal shavings, and if I can, it's probably time for a new fuel pump. So after removing these two bolts, I need to remove this bracket as well and move it out the way with some pipes to get access to this. But now I can remove this solenoid out of the high pressure fuel pump and hope that I find no bits of metal in there. Right then, the good news is this high pressure fuel pump, on the little gauze on the nib, there's no signs of metal shavings, and in the actual pump there is zero signs of any metal shavings, which is good news. But the bad news is I still don't know why this code is coming on. And after refitting this high pressure fuel pump solenoid, I realised that in the car left over there was two things. There was this, which is the fuel rail pressure sensor, and she said that was definitely changed, so this is the old one. And I know that's working because I've read the actual fuel rail pressure. But also in the car was this. Now this is the fuel pressure regulator valve, which sort of controls how much pressure is allowed in the fuel rail. But this has come with this plastic cover on it as well, which makes me think for whatever reason this hasn't actually been used in the car and they just got rid of it. But there's one other thing. So the woman I bought it off actually sent me this, which is the receipt for getting the cam belt and a full service done in March just a few months back, and on here it does say the fuel filter was changed. First thing to try is this regulator, and after having a closer look, this isn't the problem, because here on the part that was inside the car it said 2015, and the one that was on the engine currently says 2025. So I connected an analog pressure tester up to the fuel line going into the fuel filter, and this is to test the low pressure fuel pump inside the tank, and that held steady, which is perfect. So the next thing to do is test the injectors, and it's best to do that on a warm engine. So engine's now warmed up, and now I can begin testing these injectors. All you have to do is remove these clips off the return lines on the actual injector, replace that pipe with your own rubber hose on all three cylinders, and then I just drilled a hole in the lid of these spice containers, pushed in the hose in the lid, and twisted that onto the jar. So in theory, this is going to collect all of the extra diesel that the injectors are leaking off. I can measure it and look for one that's leaking off more than all the rest. But after cranking the ignition for much longer than usual, I realised something isn't right here. Right, that's not good. We've had an enormous diesel leak out of all these pipes, which I am very confused about. But it turns out this pipe here comes straight out of the fuel rail into the return to the fuel filter, and this is where it meets up with the return for the leak off pipes on the injectors. So with no pipe attached to the end, all of that rail pressure is just flying out of these return hoses. So it's looking like I can't really do anything else to test this car. I even strapped the gauge to the windscreen wiper and drove, and the pressure didn't drop but the code came on, so it's not the low pressure fuel pump, and I can't leak off test the injector, so I really don't know what I'm going to do. So for now I'm going to do the brakes, because when I got it MOT'd it got an advisory for all the brakes being rusted and the front pads being way too low. Now I actually found a receipt to show that just 2 years ago the rear discs and pads were done, but these front discs and pads definitely need changing. And although the MOT test did say the rear brakes were corroded, I think that's just because it's been sat for about 6 months. So I think once it's driven a bit, that'll all be cleared off. But with that pad retainer removed, I can unbolt the two bolts on the rear of the caliper, slide that caliper out, and these pads were literally non-existent. Yeah, that needed new. I'm surprised it went through an MOT with that, to be honest. And with that off, there was a bit of a rumble when I was braking as well, so I'm pretty sure the discs are warped. So on top of them being rusty, they've been warped as well. Out comes that screw, using my brand new Tank Impact driver, which is the most underrated tool ever. It spins as you hit it with a hammer. But this disc was super seized on, so I used those caliper bolts and just wound them in to slowly push that disc off the hub, which is way better than hammering, annoying all the neighbours. So after that, I cleaned up the hub to make sure that the brand new coated discs slide on without any dirt or anything making it an uneven mating face. So back on goes the retainer screw. And again, I cannot believe these brakes at all. Look at a brand new pad compared to the one that's on the car. I have definitely never seen brake pads worn down this low. But anyway, the piston in the caliper needs pushing back. The brake pad can get pushed inside the piston, and it's always important to use official brake lube to grease up the pads and the mating surfaces so that nothing sticks and seizes together. So that can go back onto the disc, and the last thing to do is clean up these slide pins, which I like to do with a drill and a bit of sandpaper. It's the easiest way to, again, make sure that that caliper isn't seizing onto the pin. Adding some more grease to those, and then fitting everything back together again. And with the passenger side back together and all torqued up, the driver's side is done just like that. Right, now the brakes are done, it's time to check everything's all right with them before I sell it to a new owner. And it's worth warning you that if you get coated brakes like I've got, when you first start driving, you'll have no brakes because that coating is slippery until it wears off. But after a bit of braking, they are so much better. Now the last thing I need to sort before selling the car is this limp mode. And as much as I hate to say it, I've tested everything I can test on this. So I'm gonna take it to a diesel injection specialist who charge £100 for diagnosing, which saves me time, and the amount of profit I've got in this car, £100 really is nothing. So I'm on the way there to drop the car off and hope that it's not going to be an expensive fix. So it's been a couple hours since I dropped the car off at the garage, and they've just rang to give me the bad news. The car needs 3 brand new injectors, and they've quoted a price of £1,090. And out of that massive repair bill, £850 of that is the injectors, and I can't find them cheaper anywhere else, not even used ones. So they said it's about £150 in labour. So I've told them to go ahead with the job, and they say they'll have it finished by tomorrow morning. But even with that gigantic repair bill, the good news is I think I can sell this car for a lot more than I originally thought. So I think even after this, I'm still going to make about £2,000 of pure profit. So now, just got to wait for tomorrow and hopefully go and pick up the car running perfectly, ready to sell. So I've just picked the car up, and although that £1,090 bill hits the profit hard, the car is driving great. It was definitely down on power. I didn't think it was, but it definitely was. All we need to do is clean the car and list it up for sale. So I always start with the wheels, and if you didn't know, I used to be a professional detailer, and I spent literally years trying to find out what the best products are to clean your car. So I'll list all the products that I use down below with links so that you can get them. They're great value for money, and I find they all are great products. And I want to take a second to thank you guys for watching this far in, and remember, if you like the video, 90% of you lot watching aren't subscribed. It's free, all you have to do is click the button. It helps me out and make sure that you'll be able to see new videos whenever they get released. But back to the car. Now that I've cleaned the wheels, done a traffic film remover on the lower third, and snow foamed the car, I like to use a really soft brush to make sure to get all the dirt out of the cracks, crevices, fuel cap, and between the body lines and windows and stuff like that. It really gives it that extra touch when someone comes round to see the car and there's no dirt hidden in the hard to reach areas. And now that's all rinsed off, I can go ahead and use a nice soft mitt and some car shampoo to wipe down the car, making sure to go in straight lines that replicate the way air would go over the car, just so that if there's any light scratches, it's harder to see. And not forgetting to clean the door jambs and rinsing those off. And one area that always gets forgotten is underneath the boot. And when the person you're selling your car to comes to open the boot and that is completely clean, it makes such a difference, because most cars is covered in like green algae, and it's just not nice. Right then, now I'm done with the basic clean. Before I do the inside, I want to give the outside of this car a good polish. And if there's one product that you pick up that I use, it should be this Auto Glim Super Resin Polish. All you need to do is apply this with a pad, leave it on the car for like 15 to 30 minutes, and then buff it off. And cameras don't do it justice. It makes a world of difference. The car is super shiny afterwards. It temporarily removes small scratches, and it leaves the bodywork hydrophobic, so water and dirt just fall straight off it, which you'll see later in the video. And with some tyre shine applied, it's time to clean the windows, and the easiest way to do this is with 2 microfiber cloths and some dedicated glass cleaner. And once you've wiped the windows with 1 microfiber, buff it all off with another. Now if you're getting streaky windows, the chances are your second microfiber is dirty, so stop being stingy and get a new one. Right then, it's the next day. I'm going to start cleaning the inside, which means doing a much better job of hoovering all the seats and the carpets as well as the floor mats than I did earlier on in the video. And once I've done a solid job of hoovering all that up, I actually wanted to go ahead and unbolt both the front seats just with the 4 bolts on each corner of the rails, so that I can get properly underneath the seats, hoover them up and wet vac them. Now the only reason I'm really doing this is because of how mouldy the car was. I don't want to give the car any chance to keep mould anywhere and grow back. But I didn't remove the seats fully because on these VW Audi Group cars, if you unplug the wires underneath the seats, you often get an airbag code, which is really annoying. So I just tilted them back, and then went ahead and wet vacked the seats. And I am actually using boiling water in the wet vac to try and make sure that I kill any of this mold left under the seats, in the cushionings or the foam. And with that all done, whilst that's drying, a nice tip for cleaning your interior is get a clean soft bristle brush, and you can agitate all the dust and dirt with it so that the hoover picks it up much easier. Then use another brush with some all-purpose cleaner on all the plastics to remove any sweat or finger grease that's left on there, and you'd be surprised, especially these indicator stalks, how bad they can get if you don't clean them. And then of course wipe them dry with a microfiber cloth. And finally, not only because of the mold, but also because for some reason I've never come across it before, but this driver's seatbelt stunk of BO. I gave it a steam clean, and I gave the steering wheel a steam clean as well, which I've never done before, but it came out looking great and it took so much dirt off of it. So I did the same with the gear stick, and whilst all the carpets and seats were still a bit wet, I whacked an air freshener in there so it could soak into all the wet material and leave this car smelling perfect. And now look at how good this car looks on the outside thanks to that super resin polish. And on the inside, it looks brilliant as well. I'm kind of happy for that mold because it made me do such a good job on this interior. It genuinely looks brand new now. I can't imagine someone coming to view this car and not buying it. So I've taken pictures of it. It's time to list it online and wait for a buyer. And in literally a couple of days, I can't believe it, the car is sold. How much profit did we make? Well, I am really happy with this one. The car cost 550 quid, £94.92 on insurance, tax was 4 quid, tow truck was 90 quid to get it home, Auto Trader was 32.95, which was a waste of money because I sold it on Facebook, eBay was 19.99, waste of money again, 49.99 for the MOT, brakes was 79.94, the whole injectors and fitting them was £1,092.19. I bought a fuel filter that I didn't use, so I need to return that, and I bought that pressure tester for £39.59. So altogether, we made £1,532.54, which is really good for less than a week's work. If you like the video, make sure to hit subscribe and look forward to the next flip. It's a big one.